Welcome to the Lifestyle Architects Show,
featuring interviews with inspiring and successful lifestyle entrepreneurs and helping you to design your life, build your online business, and live your dream now.
There is no better time than the present to make a change that will bring you true happiness and make your dreams a reality.
Changing his life and helping you change yours.
It's your host, Navid Moazzez.
Welcome to the Lifestyle Architects Show. I'm Navid Moazzez, and today I am super pumped to have my friend Chris Ducker on the show for a very special episode. Chris is an entrepreneur, virtual staffing expert, blogger, podcaster, and author of his new book, Virtual Freedom, which we are here to talk about a bit today. Chris helps other entrepreneurs catapult their businesses into the 21st century, utilizing what he calls the new business style of marketing. So I would like to welcome you, Chris.
Yeah, thanks very much, man. It's great to be on the show.
Yeah, finally we get to connect here over Skype. I've followed you for a long time, and you've influenced me a lot in what I do and everything online. So I appreciate that.
No, thank you for showing interest in what I'm all about. I appreciate it.
For sure. Let's start a little bit with the basics here. You wrote a book now, but what I'm interested in is how you the journey, how you positioned yourself as the go-to expert for outsourcing and virtual assistants from the beginning there.
Well, the funny thing is I never really actually set out to do that. It wasn't a conscious move to sort of become the go-to source in the VA world or anything like that at all. I started blogging in January 2010, and I was talking about my own journey of removing myself from my very large business of, at that point, 130 employees. We're now double that, but I was stressed out. I was burned out. I was working silly long hours. And so I started blogging about what I was going to do that year to get myself out of the office, basically, and not have to work so many silly hours. And the kind of long story short, by the end of the year, I'd achieved the goal, but I had also started podcasting and had become, quite friendly with a lot of other online influencers in the process. And one thing led to another, and I just started to become a source for virtual assistant and outsourcing information. And from there, it's just sort of ballooned and blossomed over the last few years. And, I'm speaking internationally very, very regularly on the subject. And, I don't know. I've probably done 100 of these interviews easy over the last over the last 3-4 years. So, yeah, it's weird, Navid. I never went out to do that. It wasn't a focus to do that, but the personal brand element of what I'm all about, it just kind of slipped into place. And when I realized it was going on, when I realized it was happening, I didn't put up much of a fight. I was just sort of happy to just roll with the punches and see sort of what happens kind of thing. And it just so happens a lot of pretty cool stuff has happened. So I've been more than happy with it.
Yeah, definitely. For me personally, when I was just starting blogging was a big step for me. I'm sure you feel the same when you kind of moved away and started to focus more on your personal brand. And that helped you also to, a lot of good things happen since you do that, right?
Yeah, no, my developing my own brand was by far the most important part of my career. That I truly believe that, and that's another thing now that I've become known for as a source, and I get a lot of personal branding questions thrown at me. I have a course that's just come out called the Branding Bootcamp, that answers those questions in a way that I can also then monetize that brand at the same time. So, with me, I'm a very kind of, I'm a very brash kind of entrepreneur. What you see is what you get. There's no BS involved with me. We do all these things that we do to help people, inspire and educate them, but we also do them to make money. And I'm not shy to say that. Everything I do is relatively calculated. And there's going to be a payday at the end of it. I'm an entrepreneur. That's what I do. You know, if I wanted to create bucket loads of content and take hours and hours and hours and hours out of my week every week to do that, and, you know, just be happy giving it all away, I wouldn't be in the position where I am now. You know, you've got to be seen to sell as an influencer.
I mean, definitely. I mean, the blogging is basically just a platform to build your audience, and that's kind of you. So you don't see yourself as a blogger. You see yourself as an entrepreneur building your brand via like different platforms such as blogging, podcasting, and all that. And that probably helped you also now when you wrote your book, Virtual Freedom, which we are going to talk about a bit. I mean, you have the distribution channels. You can talk about it on your podcast. You can blog about it and so on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think... I mean, I'd like to think that I would have got the book deal without the platform that I built. But I'm pretty honest with myself and say that I think I probably would have still got the deal to do a book, but I don't think I would have got the advance that I got. You know, and so the platform's important. It's an important piece of the overall business strategy for sure.
Definitely. And if you go into a little bit here with with Virtual Freedom and go from the beginning, like what, like if you're going to give an intro to my audience, like it's about like essentially outsourcing, and why are you so passionate about this topic?
Well, I'm passionate because society has led entrepreneurs to believe that they've got to work 7 days a week, you know, 14, 15 hours a day to be successful. And we're killing ourselves. We're killing ourselves by doing that as business owners. And, you know, I've burned out because of it, and I woke up from it, and I've made changes, and it's helped me immensely with my business. And you know, that there's not a week that goes by where I don't get at least one message from someone saying, and usually it's a lot more than one message, but there's not a week that goes by where I don't get at least one message saying, you know, I wish there was more time in the day. There's not enough hours in the week to get everything I need done. And my reply to that is usually, well, you're trying to do it all yourself. You've got to delegate. You've got to build your team. And I'm just, you know, I'm a big advocate of just having a team around you. It doesn't even matter whether it's virtual or not. It could be right underneath your nose. It could be in your backyard. You know what I'm saying? It's just about being smart and, you know, working those crazy long hours, trying to do everything yourself is not being smart. That's just being stressed. And I don't like being stressed. So
No.
if I can, you know, if I can make changes, you know, this is the way I look at it, man. If I can make changes with 130 people working for me and remove myself from a physical brick and mortar business like that on a day-to-day basis, then there is absolutely no reason at all why online entrepreneurs cannot do it.
Yeah. I mean, I completely agree. I've read this. You wrote I think you wrote a post about this on your website as well, and kind of your story and how all this affected you, and it was really, really powerful when I read it. So, and also how, like, if you're starting out online, you don't have a lot of money maybe to invest in a full-time virtual assistant. So where do you get started? Like, if this is your first time dabbling with the virtual staff.
Well, I mean, a lot of people might not have enough money, or they might not have enough work. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people think, well, I can't hire somebody full-time. I don't have enough work for 40 hours a week. Well, you know, the really good thing is that you don't need to hire somebody 40 hours a week to get that little bit of virtual freedom into your life, right? So, you know, you start outsourcing, you know, on a task-by-task or a project basis. And you need a logo designed, you know, boom, you outsource it. You need some transcription done, boom, you outsource it. You need a website built, boom, you outsource it. So you can dip your toe in the water, as they say, and sort of test the temperature out a little bit and see whether or not you're going to, you know, see whether or not it's going to work out for you, what kind of issues it causes for you, if it does cause you any issues. Or, you know, the positive upswing is how much more productive does it make you? You know, when you're outsourcing those tasks, then, you know, what else can you be doing as the business owner, right? Designing products and service and getting it out there and making money and spending time with clients and traveling to conferences and networking and all that sort of stuff. So, it's just about being smart, and you can start off very, very small and build it up over time.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I started probably on platforms such as Elance or Odesk and just like one-off tasks or something. And then, I mean, what I struggle with a lot is to hire people that you can actually trust, because most people on those platforms don't really maybe care about what you are doing. So now these days, maybe I try to get referrals or something, and that's how I found my designer now. I actually founded a kind of branding agency, so I help also other entrepreneurs and startups with the kind of website design, but I built a team or a small team around that so I can outsource it.
Yeah, I mean, you're doing it the smart way. That's exactly what you should be doing.
But what's your advice when when it comes to hiring people on those platforms, how you can actually find the good people when you are starting out?
Well, I mean, it's always going to be a little hit and miss when you're working with people on a task by task basis, because, it's the task. You never really get to know somebody properly. Say let's just, go with a logo example. Here's my job spec. This is the type of logo that I want. Here are a couple of samples. My budget's $200. If you want the work, let me know. They come back and say, yes, these are some of the stuff I've done before. If you like the work, I'll be happy to do it for $200. Boom, that's it. It's a transaction at that point. It's not a relationship. But once you do start hiring people, either on a part-time or a full-time basis, that's when the real relationship building comes into play. And that's something, obviously, that has to take place over a period of time,
Yeah, but do you think you can also have a person on your team, but you pay them every time you have a project? Like, for example, with my designer, that's what I do. Every time I have something new, let's say I want to get something done, I want to add a section to my website, I just contact him. I mean, then I also get a better deal, obviously, on what I'm doing.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great way of looking at it. You might end up working with the same freelancer over and over again. Not just to get a better deal, but also because he does a good job.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you want to carry on, with that certain level of expectation in terms of what they're going to be delivering for you.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I stick with it. It's hard to find a really reliable, I mean, I'm sure you know this as well. I mean, it's hard to find a really good designer or someone who you can really trust and who does a really great job. That gets your vision, all this.
It's tough, and that is, that's one of that's really one of that's the focus. You've got skill sets, you've got experience, but ultimately, if you interview somebody and you just you don't, there's something about them that you don't like, or your gut's telling you not to do it, or the vibe isn't there and they're not quite understanding what you're all about, that these are the things that are a turn-off, right? And, you've got to follow your gut in those kind of situations. And if you think about it, if you follow your gut, you're way more likely to regret saying yes than you are no. So if your gut's telling you no, I would follow the gut.
Yeah, definitely. And when it comes to more what you are doing, I know you have a company, Virtual Staff Finder, and I mean, when it comes to finding staff, and if it's your first virtual assistant, what should you kind of look at in terms of that when hiring and looking for someone to work with?
What we should really need to try and look at first and foremost is the role. A lot of people like to sort of just slam a load of tasks together and expect one person to be able to do like 5 different people's jobs. I call this the super VA, and they don't exist, right? So it's like when you build a house, you hire a head contractor to work with your architect, and then the head contractor will then start building the house utilizing subcontractors. So he'll bring somebody in for the electrical, he'll bring somebody in for the roofing, somebody in for the bricklaying, somebody in for the plumbing. He's bringing in specialists who collectively can get the job done, but individually are very, very different roles. And that's exactly how you want to look at building a virtual team as well. And 9 times out of 10, for most modern day entrepreneurs today, the first role that a lot of people will end up hiring for will be that general VA role, and that's your right hand. You know, that's your regular kind of gal Friday, as they used to call them back in the day, and they're just, oh my God, these GVAs, they're completely worth their weight in gold. They bring so much calm to that entrepreneurial storm. They really do.
Yeah, I mean, when is I mean, obviously, I think I know the answer to this, but when is the good time when you're a new, maybe a new entrepreneur starting out? Maybe it's like right when you have enough income or enough money to invest in a GVA, then you should go with it. Is that your advice?
You know, it's an interesting question because it's tough to tell. You know, it's different for everyone else. Like for some people, they might say, okay, I'm making X amount of money now. I can afford, you know, $500 US a month for a full-time worker in the Philippines. I can afford that. I'll just hire somebody, and you know what? If they only end up working half the time, no big deal. They're still helping me out. That kind of attitude, right? That's the first thing. The other thing is, and 9 times out of 10, it's going to be when overwhelm hits you. And it'll hit you between the eyes. It'll hurt. It'll make you cry. And at that point, you will have to make a choice, and that is to continue going it on your own and stressing yourself out and ultimately burning out because of it, or going in the other direction and building your team. So a lot of people will make that decision to jump on the outsourcing bandwagon once that overwhelm hits. But I know many, many people that have, you know, started new ventures and they've got the financial, you know, whatever you want to call it, cushion or buffer or whatever, where they can afford help right out of the gate. And that works just fine as well, because it means that, you know, from the beginning, you're really focusing on the core high level activities as an entrepreneur that you should be. And there's just too many people out there spinning their wheels and not getting stuff done. And having work, or rather having help to help you with that work, you know, can make all the difference.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I know from like our mutual friend, John Lee Dumas, I think he hired from the very beginning, he started Entrepreneur on Fire, he hired virtual staff, actually full-time virtual assistants. So, I mean, you can see his growth, that must have helped him to grow his following, to kind of free up some time so he can focus on what he does best.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, and he didn't do it immediately. But he did do it very soon after starting, because he did realize quite early on that he was definitely going to need help. And in fact, he's had several VAs through Virtual Staff Finders, which is why I know his VA journey very well.
That's great. I mean, I see his growth, and that must. I mean, he also something to consider is like maybe you have to have some savings to afford it early on, because money is not always coming in right from the start when you are building your audience and building your platform online. I know this from experience myself. When I started out, you know, money, you know, you don't get clients right away. You have to build up trust, you know, like in trust factor. So
yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, you talk also a lot about this kind of superhero syndrome and creating your 3 lists of freedom. I think you wrote a blog post about it too, but can you talk a little bit about this as well?
The 3 lists of freedom?
Yeah, I mean, kind of is that what you should like what you don't what you enjoy doing and kind of what you don't want to do at all, kind of things?
Yeah, I mean the exercise, the 3 lists of freedom exercise, is exactly what I did at the end of 2009 when I burned out and I really started to focus on growing my team. And what it is, you sit down with a piece of paper, you draw a couple of lines, you have a few different columns on there. The first column is a list of all the things that you just don't like doing. Plain simple, like you hate them. But you know that your business demands that you do these types of tasks because they're needed on a day-to-day basis, but you don't like doing them. So that's the first list. The second list is a list of all the things that you can't do or you struggle with. Now, this is where the superhero syndrome that you just mentioned, which I talk about in the book on a number of occasions, comes into play, because as entrepreneurs, we don't like to admit that, that there is somebody else out there that can do this better than us, whatever that this may be. So, coming to terms with the fact that, you're not a coder. You either know PHP and CSS or you don't. If you don't, leave it the hell alone and get someone else to do it for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's the second list. And the third list is a list of all the things that, as the business owner that you are, you feel once you sit down and really, truly, deep down think about it, it's a list of all the things that you feel you should not be doing on a day-to-day basis. Okay? And this is a tough list because you might like doing these tasks. You might be really good at doing these tasks. But again, the question to ask yourself is, should I be doing them as the business owner? Is my time potentially better invested in the business by spending, my time on more high-level activities, such as, more time with clients, developing more product, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And they are the three lists of freedom. And you'll find that once you do that initial brain dump and you've got all those different tasks down there in those three different lists, then you can start kind of almost pitching them in together and formulating different roles out of those individual lists. And then you start hiring your team, man.
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
the way to rock it out.
I know definitely what I don't enjoy doing in my business and what I'm doing online, like kind of audio editing, video editing, and stuff like that. I
you see, and tasks like that are very, very time consuming.
Oh yeah.
And I always say that as entrepreneurs, time is our most valuable commodity. It's our MVC, and we should invest our time as wisely as we possibly can, because only so many hours in the day, right? And so if there is something like audio video editing, oh God, just brutal. Just the idea of sitting there in GarageBand or ScreenFlow or something, or Final Cut Pro or whatever. What little hair I have left, it starts to fall out just thinking about it. So, there are definitely certain things that business owners in this day and age should not be doing. And those two tasks right there are definitely right there on the list.
Definitely. We come in a little bit to this now, kind of what task if you're starting building your personal brand online, what are some great tasks that you should outsource? Obviously, like kind of the content creation that you do on your own, kind of the blog post and all that, maybe you should kind of write. I write all my content myself. I wouldn't outsource that because it's hard to replicate my voice. So
it's almost impossible, and that's one thing you shouldn't outsource. You should never outsource your content. It's not advisable to do that. But that doesn't mean that you can't outsource certain aspects of putting that content together. So time-consuming things like researching certain things that you might be creating content about, doing a competitive analysis to see what your competitors are up to and how you can either better them or kind of almost take the best stuff that they've done and then infuse that with your own stories and personality to make it really kick ass. You know what I mean? It's tough nowadays, man, to be 100% original.
Yeah, definitely.
And the moment you accept that as someone that is trying to build a brand in today's market, the moment you accept that it's tough to be totally original is the moment that you realize that you have one ingredient that is original, and that's you. And that's what people are going to fall in love with above and beyond every blog post you write, every podcast you publish. They're going to fall in love with you, your stories, your personality, your experience level, and what you bring to their personal little party in life. And if you do a great job at being you and helping them and solving problems and providing solutions to those problems and that sort of type of thing, they'll come back to you over and over and over again. But if you're copying other people's stuff, they'll see right through it, and they'll be gone and they'll never come back. So VAs can help you with a lot of the personal branding stuff, but definitely content creation should come from within you.
Yeah, definitely. Something I have quite some content now on my website. Something that I'm thinking of is kind of the repurposing part, when someone can come in and maybe write some guides or something. Is that a great task to outsource?
Yeah, that is exactly the sort of type of stuff that is perfect for working with VAs for. You can get a 10-minute video turn it into a 10-minute podcast, turn it into, a 2,000-word epic blog post, or put it into a ebook and use it as an opt-in magnet, or make some slides out of it and utilize slide decks for, SlideShare, or produce an infographic and stick it up on Pinterest. I mean, there's so many different ways to skin that cat. The thing is, you just got to catch the cat to begin with. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
You've got to, you've got to create that content that is not only going to be, genuinely consumable, but when you're creating it, you're going to be thinking about making more different types of content from that type of content as well. So I mean, you did a post recently where you talked about experts sharing their advice on personal branding.
Yeah, definitely.
That's a perfect example of the type of piece of content that you could end up repurposing literally all over the internet. I mean, all over the internet. Like that right there has got a SlideShare document written all over it.
Yeah.
Take some time putting it together, because I remember there was a lot of people involved. What was it?
There was a lot of people. I tried to get you involved, but I am sure you were busy as well, with your book marketing. So
yeah. I mean, unfortunately, I've had to say no, unfortunately, to a few things over the last month. And I'm it's funny. It's important to bring this up as well, actually, in terms of productivity, right? There will come a time where you have to start saying no. Yeah. And the last thing I want to do is say no to somebody like you, for instance, who has been a supporter of what I do and what I'm all about. That's the last thing I want to do, because I want to repay you for the attention and the affection that you've shown for what I do. But in the same way, I don't want to just write a couple of paragraphs in 5 minutes and get it back to you, because that's BS. You deserve more than that. I demand more of myself for you in that regard. So it's hard, man. I mean, once you get to a certain, quote unquote busy level, it's really hard to say yes to everything, unfortunately. But
I can understand that for sure, and I appreciate what you're saying here. And it's we're going in this direction with how you can connect with you're an influencer to me and influenced what I do a lot online, and kind of how you connect. Like I started commenting on your blog, sharing your content. So that's kind of how it all started. I left thoughtful content, comments on your blog and so on. So if someone is starting out, that's a really good way to connect with someone.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so if we go back a little bit to the virtual assistants here, with the more and more tasks you can outsource. What I'm struggling with a lot is I'm good at the promotion on my blog posts. I am. I mean, I'm putting probably in a lot more work on the promotion side. I heard even Derek Halpern say you should spend maybe 20% on the creation and 80% on the promotion. And I do, 100%. But it takes a lot of time to promote the content. Is that something VAs can take care of somehow and upload it and stream it out there?
Yeah, that this is exactly what you should be working with a VA for. I mean, just blogging in general, managing a blog, marketing your blog. Like I said, time is your most valuable commodity, and it's important for you to maximize your time to do what you are best at and what you should be doing. And what you should be doing is creating more amazing content. Yeah. You should not be marketing it. And when we talk about, having a VA help you with marketing, there's so many different things that they can do for you, other than just updating Facebook and Twitter. I mean, there's everything from blog directories to, content aggregators. Some people like them, some people don't, but, they are what they are. Everything from just making sure that your SEO plugin is properly filled out, so you're found in Google properly. There's just so many different things that VAs can help you with when it comes to the marketing side of things. Finding opportunities for guest blogging, commenting on other blogs. There's just tons. There's tons and tons and tons.
Yeah, definitely.
You add this all up. You add this all up on a monthly basis, and it's days and days and days of work.
Yeah,
and those,
I know
those
this.
days that you should be spending time creating content, not promoting it.
I know this for sure because I do a lot of this work now myself. And I mean, I didn't start long ago, so I kind of just use the platforms, kind of the talent platforms for now. But if as soon as I make more money or whatever, I have more time, I would probably use your service to get myself a VA because that I can see a lot of possibility and so I can grow actually my business faster if I do that.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to just not that you're not being smart now, but it just comes down to being smarter with your time. And I think that's what a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with. You know, they know they need help. A lot of the time, they know where to go to get that help, but for whatever reason, they just don't pull the damn trigger, and it ends up killing them over a certain space of time. You know.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's with the promotion side. It's like you have to put it. It's not only about the Facebook and Twitter and all that. You have to kind of get it out to maybe reach out to experts. You have to do all these things. Like for this post I wrote, it took me, I don't know how many hours it took to just promote this post. But it went like a lot of shares on this post and it was worth it. But I could have used that time maybe more wisely because to create an epic post or whatever, that takes also a lot of time. We both know this. It's not something you do in an hour, you know?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And I mean, it really just comes down to understanding where your strengths are. And I think this is something else that we struggle with a lot because we like, it goes back to superhero syndrome. We like to think that we can do everything. But, I realized a long time ago that, I was going to be me personally, my brand was going to be the marketing arm of my businesses. People were going to buy because of me. Not necessarily because of the benefits or the features of those products or services, but because I was serving those services and products up. And the moment I really took that on board and I appreciated the power of that personal brand, I ran with it at 180 miles an hour, and I'm still running at 180 miles an hour with it. And I tell you something right now, the last 2 years alone, I've had more business opportunities come my way in 2 years because of my personal brand than I did probably the 8 years prior to that without it. And that's a fact.
Yeah. I mean, I can completely understand that because we have very similar thoughts on, I believe in this people to people philosophy you talk about a lot. And that's so true. Like people don't really buy companies or products anyway. They buy you. And that's, I think more people should focus on that. And especially businesses that they should have maybe a blog or something so they can connect with their target audience in a better way.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's get into a little bit about we're also your book, which is coming out pretty soon. It's the 1st of April.
It is indeed. Yeah. 1st of April.
So your personal brand has helped you a little bit to get this out there. So can you tell us a bit about who this book is for and why people should get it and why they need it? First of all, I know I need it, but you can tell my audience about it.
Well, I think every entrepreneur, every business owner, every solopreneur, every coach, author, speaker, blogger, podcaster, anybody that's doing something that revolves around creating, sharing, and publishing content online, particularly, needs this book. I've been very, very blessed, Navid, to have some close friends that are very influential people in the business world. And I had a whole bunch of blurbs come into me. I shared the first 3 or 4 chapters of the book with these people to get testimonials to help, market it. And one particular testimonial came back, and for the love of it now, I can't remember who said this now, which is making me sound terrible all of a sudden, but somebody said that, and they called it the essential field guide to building your virtual team. And that's perfect. That sums it up right there.
Definitely.
This is everything. This is 300 pages. I put everything into this thing. There's nothing more that I need to write about now on the subject of VAs and building virtual teams. Of course, I will continue to talk about it and write about it and discuss it.
Yeah.
But it's only going to be kind of not rehashing per se, but it's going to be just sort of, reinforcing what I talk about in the book.
Yeah.
This is it. How to find, how to hire, how to train, how to manage, how to motivate, how to pay, how to promote, how to just utilize VAs across the board to run sport and grow your business.
Definitely. And it's all this stuff that kind of the 4-hour work week by Tim Ferriss kind of miss out on. He talks about it, but he doesn't go in depth like you are. So definitely.
Right. Exactly. And, and I'm so glad that you bring that up, because that's exactly the mission that I went out with. When I put together the proposal document for this book to be published, I was working with my literary agent, and that was the gap that I wanted to fill, knowing how unbelievably successful 4-Hour Workweek was, and knowing that there was going to be, a certain coalition between the two. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't just rehashing Tim's amazing work, but that I was bringing something new to that. I actually had 4 offers from 4 different publishers to do this book with me. And it was the last one that I signed. It was the last offer, the last phone call that I had within the space of about 3 weeks, where my agent was shipping it and shopping it out there. And the reason why I went with this last offer, and let me clarify, this was not the largest advance either. So I took a quote-unquote pay cut to work with this particular publisher. But the reason why I did work with this publisher is within 3 minutes of being on the phone, the owner of the business turned around and said to me, "This is how I see this book, Chris. It's like the outsourcing section of the 4-Hour Workweek on steroids."
This is perfect.
And I just said, "Okay, send me the contract."
This is
literally.
Great.
I knew I was going to sign that guy within 3 minutes. That's how long it took, because he got it. The rest of them, all they asked, or all they even had to say about the book was,
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of the Lifestyle Architect Show.
For more information and to learn more about Navid's journey and how to start your own,
Please visit navid.me.
Sales. I get it. They're publishers. They got to make money by selling books. It's a no-brainer. But when somebody says something like that to you, and it goes back to what I was talking about before in terms of hiring a VA, right? Like, whether the vibe is there or not.
Yeah.
Whether your gut will tell you. And I knew within 3 minutes that I was going to sign with the publishers that I went with.
That's definitely, this. And also, I thought we were going to do something cool for my audience here. I'm going to give away four books to my audience, and maybe we can have something that they should do. Maybe they should leave a comment on why they should get this book in the first place, or why they need it, or what do you think we should do?
Love that. Yeah, I think that's a great idea, and it gets people involved on the community side of things as well. So yeah, just comment on the show notes for this over at the blog, and I will go over regularly, say within a 48-hour period of the post going live, and I will answer any and all questions that you guys want to ask me, but I'll pick the top 4 questions. And then
that's perfect. So you can find this at navid.me/Chris Ducker. So go over to the show notes and get your best questions out, and Chris will pick the 4 winners there.
And get creative with the questions, guys. Don't ask me, what's the best task to give to a new VA, or what's the first step to finding a VA? You can find that stuff on my blog.
Definitely.
Ask me really good questions. What's your top 5 tips for building a brand utilizing VAs? That's the sort of questions I want to see.
Definitely. Now we are reaching the end, but I have to ask you this as well before we go here. What would you do differently if you started building your personal brand over from scratch, but with all the knowledge and experience you have gained throughout the years now?
Other than just starting it earlier, I think that's the biggest thing. If I could go back and sort of start over, I would just start earlier, to be honest. And I started blogging January 2010. I wish it was January 2006.
Any particular things in terms of the personal branding things? If you have some tips there,
the first blog that I was blogging at was virtualbusinesslifestyle.com, which is no longer available. It's now just everything's over at chrisducker.com. But I think what happened was, like I said, in that first year, I didn't really go out to build the brand. It happened anyway. And then what I did is I spent another year trying to almost push that away because I didn't want to be pigeonholed as the VA guy, right? I didn't want to be known just as Chris Ducker, the guy in the Philippines that works with VAs. I didn't want to be known as that. But I realized that was happening anyway. And I also realized that I could tweak that. I could build on that. I could become a genuine thought leader within that niche if I was smart in the way that I continued to build my brand up. And it was at that point that I decided to dump Virtual Business Lifestyle and then switch over to chrisducker.com because I always felt like I was holding back my own real personality, the real Chris, when I was at Virtual Business Lifestyle. There was, I don't know, I can't put my finger on it, man, but there was just a reason why I was holding back. But the moment I hit publish on that first blog post at chrisducker.com, it was like, I don't know, it was like jumping out of an airplane for the first time.
I followed you from the very big. I followed you from this transition period, and I've seen your growth with your personal brand now in terms of chrisducker.com, and it's very powerful to see how far you've gone with your podcast and all that. I can see the growth, and I can see that in the kind of comments you're getting in your blog and the followers you have as well.
Yeah, and I love it, man. This was the exact reason why I made the change, because I wasn't happy doing what I was doing. I wanted to be me. I wanted to, if I want to swear on my own podcast, I want to swear. You know what I mean? I don't drop the F-bomb or anything, but if I want to, say anything else, we swear. People swear, and it's just little things like that. And if I want to make a stupid joke that only I'm going to laugh at, I'm gonna laugh. I'm gonna make a stupid joke. You know what I mean? And some of the times I get guests on, and I make those silly jokes, and they don't laugh. Yet I'm the one laughing, and I'm like, okay, now I look like a bit of an idiot. But every now and then they do get the joke, and they laugh along with me, and I love that stuff. It's just the personality. So really, my overall, as a long-winded answer, my overall tip in terms of building a brand is just be yourself. There's no one else like you in the world. You're the 100% originality factor. And that's the one thing that you should lean on more than anything else when you're building a brand.
I couldn't say it better myself. That's so true. It's like all the ideas are pretty much out there, but by being yourself, you're going to connect with your audience, your ideal clients, customers, or whatever. And that's how you build your business in kind of today's economy.
Yeah. So you said it.
Definitely. So where can people find you now when we are almost in the end here? So
everything I do over the blog, really, chrisducker.com. The podcast is newbusinesspodcast.com, and the book is virtualfreedombook.com. Or you can find it on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and all
definitely.
That
and if you want to use my affiliate link, you can go to navid.me/virtual freedom. So that's also if you want to support me a little bit there. So
you need some beer and money, right? You need some beer and money is what you need.
Definitely. You need a little bit here in Stockholm. It's not cheap, So no, definitely.
It isn't. You're right. My God, yeah, you're absolutely right. Beer is expensive over there. In Sweden, right?
So whenever you come over here, you'll see. I don't know if you've been here, but
I have. No, I've been to Stockholm.
You have? Okay, awesome.
Yes, yeah. And I even spent a little bit of time in Malmo. I had clients down there that I used to visit once every year or so when I was back in the corporate world. So I used to do a lot of traveling all over Europe. So I know Europe pretty good.
Awesome. And now you're in the Philippines, and that's also great. Man, I hope we can connect in person soon. That would be awesome if I can make it to the UK or one of your events in the US for sure.
Absolutely, man. No, it'll be great to be able to shake your hand and give you a hug at some point.
Yeah, definitely. It was a pleasure having you on my show and you sharing your wisdom here. So thanks so much, Chris.
Thank you. I appreciate being on.
All right, thanks.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of the Lifestyle Architects Show.
For more information and to learn more about Navid's journey and how to start your own,
Please visit navid.me.